Some people believe they signed only one contract in life, the one with their employer or their bank. But Scripture hints at something far bigger, a hidden financial contract written before you were born, a quantum covenant, a sacred agreement where God Himself says, "I give you power to get wealth, to confirm my covenant." Not a lottery ticket, not a prosperity slogan, a real spiritual contract that quietly governs how money, opportunity, and favor move toward you or away from you. If that already stirs something in you, pause for a second. Like this video so this message can find others who sense that money and spirituality are deeply connected, not enemies. And as you listen, I'd love you to comment later and tell me, where in your life do you feel like you've been living by the world's contract instead of God's covenant? Your insight might help someone else. Let's step into this carefully, because we're talking about something sacred. In Deuteronomy 18, God says, "Remember the Lord your God, for it is He who gives you power to get wealth, that He may establish His covenant which He swore to your fathers, as it is this day." That verse is like a legal clause hidden in the fine print of Scripture. It doesn't just say God sometimes blesses. It says He gives power, the capacity, the ability, the creative force to produce wealth, and He does it for a reason, to confirm a covenant. Now, think in quantum terms for a moment. Physics tells us we live in a field of possibilities, not a rigid machine. At the smallest level, reality is open, responsive, probabilistic. Things are not fixed until they interact, until a choice is made, until an observation happens. Faith, in that sense, acts like a spiritual observer. It chooses which promises, which words, which covenant clauses you're going to measure your life by. If you live as if your only contract is with the economy, interest rates, job markets, inflation, then your inner observer is locked onto scarcity data. But if you consciously align with what I'll call the quantum covenant, you begin to measure life through God's promises of provision, guidance, and creative power, even when the numbers say otherwise. So what is this quantum covenant, practically? First, covenant means relationship with legal weight. In the Bible, it's not casual, it's binding. It's like a contract signed in God's own name. When God says, "I swore to your fathers," He's referencing a long storyline. Abraham being promised blessing, land, descendants, and the power to be a blessing to others. Promises of open heavens, fruitful work, overflowing barns. Not magic money, but a consistent pattern. With me, your life becomes a channel, not a dead end. From a quantum faith perspective, that covenant functions like a standing wave in the field of your life. It's a pattern of expectation and favor already pulsing in the background. The problem is, many of us are unconsciously signed to a different contract, one that says, "I am on my own, money is scarce, the system is rigged, God is spiritual but not practical." When that's the script in your nervous system, your choices, your habits, and even your opportunities tend to match it. The quantum covenant invites you to switch contracts to consciously agree with a different set of terms. Let's go deeper. Notice that Deuteronomy doesn't say, "God gives you wealth." It says, He gives you power to get wealth. In other words, He gives you capacity and seed form ideas, relationships, skills, favor, opportunities. But you still have to act. This is where faith and quantum physics meet. The field is full of potential, but potential doesn't pay rent. A possibility has to be collapsed into action. Imagine your financial life as a blank contract sitting on a table. The covenant side reads, "I, the Lord your God, grant you power to create wealth as a sign of my covenant with you. In return, you agree to remember me, honor me, and use that wealth in alignment with my heart." The world's contract reads, "You are a random consumer in a random system. You must hustle, scramble, and fear for survival. Wealth, if you ever reach it, will be your identity." Which one are you signing with your daily thoughts, words, and decisions? Quantum Bible wealth is not about claiming every luxury you can imagine. It's about recognizing that the universe is not neutral toward you. There is a covenantal bias of favor toward those who align with God's ways. In physics language, there is openness in how events unfold. In scripture language, there is providence, God actively guiding, opening doors, redirecting. The quantum part is this: your agreement matters. Faith is your signature. Now let's talk about what this looks like in real money situations. Maybe you grew up with messages like, "We can't afford that," "People like us never get ahead," "Rich people are greedy." Those are covenant statements. They're vows, even if no one called them that. They shape what you expect, what you notice, and what you do. You might subconsciously sabotage opportunities because they violate your internal contract that says abundance isn't for you. The biblical covenant says something different. I give you power to get wealth, to establish my covenant. That means your ability to learn, to build, to create value, to invest, to multiply is not arrogance. It's part of your design. When you step into that power with humility, you're not being worldly, you're honoring the contract. Faith and quantum physics both underline another key: feedback. In quantum experiments, the measuring device affects the outcome. In life, your internal measuring device, your beliefs, your self-talk affects your behavior, which affects your finances. If your inner measure says, "I'm cursed with money," then even when you receive extra, you'll unconsciously find ways to lose it. If your inner measure says, "I'm in covenant, God gives me power to get wealth," you start treating ideas, connections, and even challenges differently. You ask, where is the opportunity hidden in this? What skill is God highlighting? What step of obedience is being asked? That shift of questions is quantum covenant in action. I want to weave in a gentle, practical layer here. If you're finding value in this, consider subscribing if you haven't already. This channel exists to help you connect scripture, the quantum world, and real-world money decisions, so you can live your assignment without living in constant financial stress. And later in the comments, I'd love you to share, what's one old money contract you're ready to tear up? Let's map out 3 core clauses of this quantum covenant in simple language. Clause 1. Source. Remember the Lord your God. In covenant, God is not your side hustle. He is the source. Jobs, clients, platforms, investments are channels. They can change. He doesn't. When you slip into panic because one channel closes, it's a sign you've mistaken the channel for the source. Realigning means saying, my contract is not with this employer, this algorithm, this client. My contract is with the one who gives me power to get wealth. Clause 2. Power. He gives you power to get wealth. That power might look like a gift for communication, an ability with systems, insight into human behavior, creative ideas, or the capacity to endure when others quit. Quantumly, that power is part of your unique frequency in the field. When you lean into it, opportunities resonate. When you deny it, everything feels like pushing a rock uphill. Clause 3. Purpose. That he may establish his covenant. The point of the power is not to build golden cages, lives that look impressive but feel empty. The point is to confirm in history that God really does keep his word. Your story becomes living proof. That means the more the covenant manifests in your finances, the more your heart will be invited into generosity, justice, and alignment. It's never just about having more. It's about becoming more in the right direction. This is where it gets real. Quantum covenant will often ask you to do financially irrational things by worldly metrics, like tithing when numbers are tight, giving when fear screams, hold. Stepping into a calling that doesn't come with a guaranteed salary, investing in a course or tool that stretches you, or finally building the product or service you've been sitting on for years. But from the covenant perspective, those are not irrational. They're legal moves. They're acts of faith that activate clauses in the contract. To help you walk this out, I created the Quantum Wealth Scripture Journal. 30 days of Bible, quantum wealth activations, and practical money moves. It's designed like a guided contract review. Each day you sit with a verse, align your inner frequency, and take one small, concrete action. If you feel the pull to formalize your own quantum covenant walk, the link is in the description and in the first comment. Now, how do we apply quantum covenant thinking this week? I want to give you a simple, repeatable sequence. Step 1. Renounce old contracts. Literally say out loud, I cancel every agreement I made with lack, with people like us never prosper, with money always leaves me. Those are not my covenant anymore. Your words matter. You're tearing up legal documents in the unseen. Step 2. Re-sign the covenant. Pray something like, God, I remember you as my source. Thank you for giving me power to create wealth. I agree with your covenant, not the world's contract. Show me the next step. In that moment, you're resetting your inner observer. You're choosing which reality you want to collapse. Step 3. Ask, where is the power? Look at your life. What do people constantly thank you for? What do you do easily that others find hard? Where do you lose track of time when you're working? But in your working, those clues point to the power God gave you to create wealth. That power plus covenant plus action is your quantum prosperity formula. Step 4. Take one legal action. It might be starting a savings or investment account and naming it Covenant Fund. It might be finally pricing your work fairly. It might be forgiving a debt that's been poisoning your heart. It might be sending one message to a potential client. Don't just feel something, file something in the spirit through action. Step 5. Track testimonies. Covenant is confirmed over time. Start writing down the coincidences. An unexpected refund, an idea that lands, a problem that suddenly resolves. Don't brush them off as random. Note them as covenant touches. This trains your mind to see that you are not alone in the field. There is partnership. I want to quietly honor our channel members. You are like co-signers on this mission. Your support allows me to keep going deeper, slower, and more prayerfully with each video. If you ever feel led to join as a member, see it as a sacred way of saying, yes, this message matters. Members also receive early access to new videos, so you can sit with these teachings before the wider audience does. Whether you're a member or a silent watcher, I'm genuinely grateful you're here. Now, one more layer, the quantum field money aspect. We often think of money as numbers in an app, but money is also information and energy. It flows along paths of value, trust, and attention. When your inner state is dominated by fear, shame, and self-sabotage, your energy around money is chaotic. You miss cues. You delay decisions. You stay in misaligned arrangements too long. Covenant brings coherence. It says, I know who my source is. I know I have power. I know the purpose of this wealth. That clarity simplifies decision-making. Does this job, client, expense, investment align with my covenant identity, or does it drag me back into the old contract? Quantum physics shows us that coherent systems where the parts move in harmony behave differently than chaotic systems. Spiritually, a coherent life, anchored in covenant, moves through the world differently. You stop grabbing at everything. You stop panicking at every dip. You become someone who can carry more without collapsing. As we come to the end, I want you to imagine something. Imagine your financial life 2 years from now if you truly lived from covenant. Not instant perfection, but a steady, visible shift. Less panic, more clarity, opportunities that actually fit you, money that has assignment, giving that feels joyful instead of pressured. Imagine looking back and realizing, I didn't get here by accident. I changed contracts. So here's my invitation. In the next 24 hours, pick one concrete area where you will stop living by the world's contract and start living by the quantum covenant. Maybe it's how you talk about money. Maybe it's how you set your prices. Maybe it's finally learning a skill you know is part of your power. Maybe it's beginning a giving habit that reflects trust instead of fear. Then, after you've taken that step, come back and tell me in the comments what you did and what you noticed outside or inside. Your story might be the confirmation someone else is praying for. Because the real question this video leaves you with is simple and sharp. If there is a quantum covenant, secret financial contract hidden in Scripture, whose terms are you really living under right now? And are you willing, starting today, to sign your name where God has already signed His?